limbic cortical region, or the region that I say causes you to do dumb stuff, loves drugs, loves weed.
Hi, I'm Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant sports figure ever, and this is Dr. Hamilton.
Most the athletes that I work with, I say, I'm going to introduce you to yourself in the future.
Oh, brilliant.
Dr. Jason Scott Hamilton.
I am the licensed clinical sports psychologist.
He's developed a reputation as a trusted expert in the field, helping top athletes to achieve peak performance.
His insights don't just apply to sports. They can transform the way you think, perform, and succeed in any area of life.
I was working at the school that Jeff Bezos went to here in Miami. I used to give students a business card, and I'd say, give me the card back when you're a doctor. 2017, I got my 151st card.
With a wealth of experience across all levels of sports, Dr. Hamilton specializes in building focus, resilience, and the mindset of champions.
People who tend to have ADHD characteristics tend to have hyper-focus in certain areas. How do you get them to focus and stay on track?
Get them to understand it. You can't get to do the stuff you love till.
What is it that separates the highest level people versus everybody else?
The ones that really make it are
So when you walked in today, the first name that you mentioned, Shaquille O'Neal. What's it like working with such a big personality? Like he's not a little dude in any aspect, not in, from what I've seen, not in his personality, not in the way that he operates, not in his goals, and not in the way that he plays ball or even life in general. How do you deal with somebody like that in your sessions or when you work with somebody like that?
All right, thanks for that question, Michael. Shaq is my frat brother. We'll start off there.
Okay.
So 30 years I've known him. I'm gonna do this. See if the camera can catch the Omega right there. So we're in the same fraternity as Michael Jordan and a bunch of people.
Wow.
And so we know what we had to go through to be in that fraternity. His grandfather is Jamaican, so there is a history there. And yes, he's a big guy. He really is. Every time I'm taking pictures with him, people call me up and say, were you standing on boxes or something? Oh, there was actually a picture 30 years ago at the Mandarin Hotel. I'll send that picture to you, where it looks like I'm as tall as him. So the Mandarin Hotel, a bunch of gold stairs going up. I'm standing on like the 7th stair. He's standing on the flat ground, and my head is right beside his. So it was a nice picture. But Mike, to answer your question, he's an amazing person. Works really hard. Great mental strength. When he said I helped him get 4 of those things. I remember a story where he was at the Heat. This lady came and was arguing with him that she has 3 sons and all these NBA players. She can't afford to buy these NBA. She definitely can't afford to buy no Jordans. And she took some money, crumpled up, and she like threw it at him. And she was really angry with all these NBA players because none of her kids can have. Right after that conversation, he created that pair of sneakers that is sold at Target or Walmart or something like for $30 a pair. And that's the type of guy he is. He's a good businessman because 1 year he outsold Jordan with that Shaq shoes.
Wow, really?
1 year. I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's what he said, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I grew up as well and I couldn't afford basketball shoes. That's the reason why I work so hard now. Like my story was that I was playing basketball. Now I don't look like a basketballer by any means. I'm too nuggety and too short. But when I was a kid, all I ever wanted was a pair of Jordans or a pair of Shaqs.
Yeah.
And my parents couldn't afford them. But I mean, now I'm lucky enough that I have a whole range of Shaqs and a whole range of Jordans. It taught me my work ethic, but that story definitely resonates. So when you're working with somebody like a Shaq or many of the athletes that you've worked with, why is it so important that they come to somebody like you with the mindset background or the psychology background? Like, as someone who works with a lot of business owners, many think that it's not the mindset that they have problems with, and it's not them holding themselves back, or it's not them getting in their own way. How do you deal with those types of people, because especially many athletes, from my experience, a lot of them are, I guess you could say, pedestal from a young age. Like if they're good at sport or whatever, people look up to them. People, you know, let them get away with things. They get away with a lot more at school, especially if, you know, the school has a brand built off of their back.
Exactly.
When they come to somebody like you, how do you open them up like an egg? How do you crack them open to be able to work with them and build that trust and them to have that understanding of that it is actually the mindset that's probably holding them back? They probably have the skill set. Do you think that it's,
Yeah. So in this country that I'm representing here in all my gear, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist in Jamaica. So I applied a clinical, my doctoral residency was neuropsych at Health South Rehab Hospital here in Miami. So I spend a lot of time studying the brain. So it's not so much really cracking open an egg as it is peeling a blooming onion. Like that segue right there with Australia.
I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm peeling an onion. And when you get to really know the athlete, because everyone's limbic cortical region, or the region that I say causes you to do dumb stuff, is different. There are things, because I've been following you and the McLarens and all. There's things that will cause someone to do something that they would not normally do. There are buttons that can push you. Alcohol, for example, will affect, limbic cortical region loves that, loves drugs, loves weed, because it's affecting the prefrontal cortex. So your executive function, you're not as sharp, right? So hence, a young athlete, most the athletes that I work with, I say, I'm going to introduce you to yourself in the future.
Oh, brilliant. I love
You
that.
understand? Because many great athletes say, if I knew then what I know now, like right now, Shaq's brain, in young Shaq, he'd have about 8 of them rings. You understand?
Yeah.
When Kobe was trying to get him to like, Shaq, come on, man, we can't be at the club all night. Got to put in the work. You understand? And Shaq, I'm not, messing with you. I'm just saying.
Neither of us. By the way, Shaq, neither of us are messing with you.
None of us
That
are.
guy's hands are bigger than my head.
I'm saying is, I know he knows that if he applied himself in a certain way, what he knows now about sports and himself, that's maturity. So when I said to these young athletes, I'm going to introduce you to yourself in the future, your prefrontal cortex, if you're a male athlete, that's not fully developed till they're 25. Women are smarter, so their prefrontal cortex is developed at 21, which is why you have some young girls, like a sophomore in high school or a freshman in high school, can be talking to the senior. They're on the same level mentally. You understand? So to answer that question, I'm peeling the onion and I'm getting them to understand. And then there's things you want to manage, that part of your brain that causes you to do dumb stuff.
Were you working with Shaq back at that age? So you said, if he knew what he knew now, were you working with him back then?
I've been working with him for a minute, and he opens up and he'll, his first doctoral program, and then his nephew, I was a assistant dean in the College of Medicine at FIU, and I was a director of research for a program named after both of our fraternity brothers, Dr. Ronald E. McNair. He was the nuclear physicist who died in the Space Shuttle Challenger. So, met him in '85. He died January 28, 1986 in the Space Shuttle Challenger. '87, the federal government created a scholarship to afford minority students and first-generation eligible minority students to get their PhD. So from then, we've been talking about this. And then back then, he wanted to do his doctorate. I remember Shaq is playing for the Heat. And I'm coming out of, I took my son, Jason, who you know.
Yeah.
Jason was, Jason, don't want to give away his, Jason is not young. Jason is 31. Jason was 10.
I was going to say, don't say that. I turned 41 today. It makes me feel old now.
All right, so I don't want to tell you, none of you my age. Me and Jesus, we were like classmates. So,
You must have a good skin routine. You look younger, or maybe it's the stress. I don't know.
Appreciate it. So I took Jason to a Heat game, or I took Jason to a game. Shaq was playing, and we took pictures with Shaq after and everything. And it was back when Shaq was big into being into a federal agent. He was law enforcement. So we come out of the arena, and you know, like when the police pull you over? Mm-hmm. I heard, Dr. Hamilton and Jason Hamilton, please step out of the car. I'm like, how does this officer know I'm Dr. Hamilton? And he goes, arr, 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 which is the cues barking. And I'm like, oh. And when I step out the car, there is Shaq in like a Trans Am police car, but there's no driver's seat. He's sitting in like the back seat. They rearranged the car, so he's driving from the back seat. But it was pretty cool. Yeah, driving from the back seat.
So he had his own police car.
He had his own
just made for him.
Yep. He had a car with him sitting in the back seat.
Where's that car now?
I don't know. I don't think he's doing so much work with the police anymore. But he was big into that. He was big into education, getting his doctorate. Shaq is an amazing guy.
So what are some of the things that you work on? Like now where he's at, you know, I see him online, and I don't want to take up the whole interview with Shaq, but I'm looking for these patterns that these athletes have that make them great. And I mean, I think my belief is that there's greatness in everybody, but it's extracting that and then having them have the self-belief and the environment and a whole bunch of other things that allow them to get there. With someone like a Shaq, I see him now online. He's doing his DJing. He's got his many businesses, from my understanding, his investments. You know, he seems like a very, very highly intelligent guy. And then I see interviews with Kobe, and Kobe saying he could have been the greatest player ever, but he just couldn't get his shit together, essentially. What's the thing that what was the switch that made him change, and were you part of it? Or what was the thing that sort of made him knuckle down more and really commit to where he's at now?
Well, I think he's always been committed. His parents, you hear him talk about his dad and his grandfather and his mom, big influences in his life. And Jamaicans, they instill a certain discipline, you know, I know my dad did, and a lot of Jamaicans instill that discipline. So what I'm saying is, Kobe had a different thing from Kobe was watching those videos about the 80s Lakers. Kobe knew where he was going, right? Shaq, when you're young, you like to do young things, you know? So Shaq has always loved music and he's not drinking, he's not smoking, but he likes to go to a club. As a matter of fact, he got Pat Riley to change that early morning get up thing, you know? And then they could start at 12. Because they were coming in early in the morning, you know? So I don't think he would have changed anything in what he's done. He enjoyed being Shaq, being a Diesel, being an Omega. All these, same thing. I enjoy it too. I enjoyed but the older you get and the wiser you get, then right now we were studying like Mihai Csikszentmihalyi.
Yeah.
Nate Zinsser, top sports psychologist in the world, from England, Stephen Peters. We start to study the greats. And when you're studying it, he's getting more interested in the mental aspect. He's always been a good student. And yeah.
Do you think that's important for the great athletes you've worked with, and there's many of them? Do you think that many of them have to be that good student, that they have to be ready to learn, they have to be willing to put in the work, or are there tools? Do you work with many who come in who are just completely off the rails and not heading in the right direction? And then my second part of that question is, how do you work with them then?
That's a really good question. I think The Jamaican people are going to hear this and not hear it correctly. All right. So I'm not so big on the church, but I'm big on the fact that I think there is a powerful person or a God or something. I do. I believe we've been messing up, and that, maybe it's a woman, because men been messing it up properly. But
I love that. It's actually good because a lot of these interviews, people have been talking about a high power and whether they label it as God or an energy or a source.
Yeah.
It keeps coming back. It seems like these highly successful people keep talking about it. So please go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
I am, and where I'm going with this point is that, so if there is a God, and he was preparing Shaq and he was preparing me, I wasn't any rocket scientist in school. I was sports, get in trouble. And my dad was a big shot lawyer. Got married 3 times.
Okay.
Right? So me, I'm the opposite of him. I'm married to Jason's mom, 37 years now.
Well done.
Yep.
That's a flex in itself these days.
That's my girl. Yep, that's my champ. She's the reason why I'm a clinical psychologist. She's the definite reason I'm a sports psychologist, because she said, you love clinical, but Jamaican people, when you move back home, they're not going to go to no clinical psychologist. So you need to get into sports, what you love. And where I'm going with this was to the point of maybe you're getting some people and they're not brilliant academically. So I guess God is preparing me, because I wasn't brilliant. And like people that went to school with me are like, you're a doctor? All right. But then later on, you get better. So when I came to America, and I went to University of Houston, as a matter of fact, this weekend I'm going up to the 40th anniversary. Wow. 40th anniversary. You just turned 41. Yeah. So of me being in college up there and pledging a fraternity and playing soccer there. The thing is, not doing well in school, right? And then, so I'm prepared for those kids that didn't do well. I'm prepared for those kids that get into trouble, because I got into a lot of trouble. So that's where I was going with the whole talking about God. But tell me, sorry, Michael, what about you at that age?
Oh, at that age, I was running amok. I was partying, drinking heavily, all the things that you said that probably aren't the best for your brain. I never took drugs. I still haven't taken drugs. That's never been an interest of mine. But definitely partying too much, drinking too much. I think alcohol was my social lubricant, if you could say that. I would drink and then go out because it allowed me to socialize.
Liquid courage.
Yeah, I think as a kid I was picked on quite a lot, quite heavily. I had bright red hair and freckles and I was chubby. And so I was always very cautious of how people perceive me. And I think that still comes up a little bit, even to this day. But I struggled quite a lot with that. And I think that's why I got into the mindset stuff, because I realized that was, it wasn't a lack of alcohol that was making me feel that way. It was just the way that I thought about myself. So, for the last 20 years, I've been on a journey of just consistently working on myself and just being better every day, just rocking up and doing the work and making sure I do the right thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Your psychologist would be very happy with you. No alcohol anymore, or?
No, I haven't. I might drink maybe 1 glass of wine per year. But other than that, I haven't, both myself and my wife, we haven't drunk for really, I would say, maybe even 10 years since we had, probably about 10 years.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're liking it?
Well, I don't even really think about it. Like, it's not even an option. We go out now. I'm around a lot of high-level business people, and I find it really interesting that we go out and it's lunchtime. It's 11 o'clock in the morning or 11:30, and we will order some food, and they say, "Oh, we'll get a bottle of wine." And I go, "I'm good, thank you." And they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's 11:30.
Yeah, I know.
But it's the thing that they do because they get in the habit of doing it, and then, after a while, that makes them tired. So then they use other drugs to then pick them back up, and it just becomes this really vicious cycle that I see. And I find it more powerful these days to say, "No, thank you. I'll have some sparkling water," and they go, "Oh." And I say, "Well, you can join me if you want." And they go, "Oh yeah." And then I find that over a 6 to 12 month period, we go out for lunch or brunch, and they'll say, "Oh, I'll just get a sparkling water." And I know that I'm making a difference because I'm leading by example. Yeah.
Listen, there's this Rastafarian that I know actually was a really great soccer player from Jamaica. So I'm a big up Snapper and Alan Skillcole. And they were saying, similar, they let it go. Actually, Snapper hasn't, no weed, no alcohol, nothing since the 70s.
Wow.
He's in like his 70s. And then he would say, let go of ice. You know? You know, when you're drinking, everybody drink, you get a burger and fries and ice drink. He said, drink warm, like the Japanese. You know, warm tea, warm water, warm. So, yep. And then just that. Same way you influence people to start drinking the sparkling water, that's how it happens.
Yeah. So tell me about these athletes. So your resume is probably one of the most impressive in regards to the athletes that you've worked with. What is it that separates the true highest level people versus everybody else? Like, I mean, I've definitely worked with some world-class athletes before. I've worked with people that have wanted to be world-class, but you can sort of see that they're not really going to make it. What have you found those differences are, first of all?
I would give the nod to discipline. Discipline. If you can get into a rhythm of your life, you know, I know you have a rhythm because I've been following your podcast.
Thank you.
The workout rhythm in the morning, you know, your routine. So your system is used to that. The ones that really make it are very disciplined. I'll give you an entertainer who, you know, sometimes the limbic cortical region messes with you. So it messed with him and he slapped somebody, right? But if you were a clinical psychologist, you kind of see that slap was coming when you're studying his history and his father, and he couldn't defend his father with his mother, when you read his autobiography. However, aside from that, very disciplined person, right? I'm not calling any name, but if you're following each, well, everybody knows who slapped who at the Oscars.
Yeah.
The point is, aside from, so that's a mistake that his limbic cortical region, his limbic cortical region said, get up, go slap. You are playing a soccer match. Someone kicks you. Limbic cortical region says, get up and go kick that person down, or get up and go punch that person. That person disrespected me. I need to punch him. If you act on that, then the limbic cortical region won, right? If you can manage that, then you're disciplined. In many other aspects of that person's life, he's been very disciplined to the point where he was a #1 box office person. You know, he's had some really good books and some really good, but he's constantly trying to evolve. Made a mistake. These athletes, to go back to your question, or business people or entertainers that really make it, is discipline. Discipline, and then your confidence comes from competent, right? Michael, you know how to tie shoelaces very well. So if there's a competition and the competition said, let me look into the camera. The competition said, you get $1 million if you tie your shoelaces properly. You get one chance to tie your shoelaces properly, right? If you make a mistake, you don't get the $1 million, right? Now, that's something that's supposed to be easy. I'm competent in tying shoelaces. I tie it all the time. Put the pressure of the $1 million now, limbic cortical regions start to say things to you like, all right, the fact that you have to think, how do I tie your shoelaces? You're messing up, right? In sports, we say that's the computer. Usain Bolt's computer knows what to do. Gun go off, boom, gone. He's been training 4 years for 9 seconds worth of work. Got it? The minute you start to think about how to tie the shoelaces, you're about to maybe mess up.
So how do you,
shoelaces.
I mean, this just brings up so much for me throughout my whole entire life, because I think of those times in business, or even the podcast, the last person that I had on here earlier this morning, we were talking about this, and something really interesting is he said, I have this childlike enthusiasm. Like I'm just a big child. And he said, therefore there's no pressure. It made me realize how much pressure I put on myself consistently, which then can cause me to slip like that. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that pattern with an athlete? So they're about to go into a big game. What do we do if we're working together?
Okay. So Nate Zinsser, one of the top sports psychologists, he works at West Point. And what you want to try and do is to get the athlete to neutral, right? Mm-hmm. So there's two examples. There's the example of the Mark Wahlberg, Lone Survivor.
Okay.
Remember that movie? Maybe
I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, so Mark Wahlberg played it. Nate Zinsser works at West Point. He trains Navy SEALs. These 4 Navy SEALs are behind enemy lines in Afghanistan to take out the Taliban leader. The concept of neutral is what do I need to do now to win the situation. So in the example I gave a while ago about the tying shoelaces, don't think ahead. Don't think about your past tying shoelace failures. Just what do I need to do now so I can tie these shoelaces and get this $1 million.
So remaining present.
Present. It's called neutral. Mm-hmm. So in this Lone Survivor is a prime example. They're behind enemy lines. 3 women farmers or wives of farmers saw them in the bushes, went back, told the Taliban where they were. They came, there were 4 of them, 4 Navy SEALs. They shot all 4. Mark Wahlberg's character fell like 100 feet, broke his arm, broke his leg, busted up his ribs. And this is the prime example of neutral. And what Nate Zinsser, the sports psychologist at West Point, taught him. Would positive thinking get him out of that situation? You know, if he sits down and says, Marines will be here any minute, I'll be fine. That's not saving him. Will negative thinking help him? No. Negative thinking helps you no time at all. Vultures will be picking out your eyes if you've gone into the negative. What do I need to do now? Neutral. I'm in this situation. I'm busted up. I'm broken up. What do I need to do to win this situation? He took a stick and he put it on the earth and he put it up here, and then he would pull his body, because that's the only thing that's working right now is his right arm. Pull his body to where his toes would be at the hole that he put here. Then he did it like that again. He did it for 7 3/4 miles, and he made it to safety. He's still alive today. That's an example. Nate Zinsser also shows you how to be confident in a difficult situation. These Navy SEALs are underwater, 100 feet down, cold weather, heavy clothes. These guys have on goggles that are painted black. There are about 10 guys down there at 100 feet whose job is to get them discombobulated, flip them, take the mouthpiece out, and disassemble it and put it on the floor. It's like in a pool. The thing is, you get 3 chances to pass this test. If you panic and push off and go up to the top because you need to get air, you're going to fail. At some point in this test, Mike, it's about 60 seconds you're under there without the mouthpiece. That's how you be in neutral. That's how you keep calm. And we train them, just grab the pieces off the bottom. You've done this many times up on dry land. Grab it, stay calm. And the key is the other guy is not going to make you die. If worse come to serve, somebody going to take their mouthpiece or push it in yours. But if you push off the bottom of the pool and go to the top, you failed. And you only have 3 chances. And that's like a big example of life. You right now giving yourself a hard time because of how you were when you were a kid and people used to tease you and everything. You're putting too much pressure on yourself. That person who was sitting in here before and talking about the kid in them, that might be why I look like this. Because the kid in me, yeah, and the kid in Shaq is still in there. Shaq have a big kid, and he enjoying it. So, yeah, man, enjoy your kid. Because your kid played with toys that look like a McLaren. And you were now driving. You were, what would they call them again? What kind of matchbox?
Matchbox.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. So you were playing with some matchbox McLaren-looking toys, and now you have them. And the fat of the wheel is in the back. Probably still speaks to you.
It does.
Yeah.
It very much does.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, did you work with Usain Bolt as well?
It can't. Listen, Usain Bolt, in Jamaica, we say you don't fix what's not broken. What Usain and I have done is we spoke about mental health and mental strength. Matter of fact, the time we were speaking about it, my dad was there, who was a big track and field fan. He ran track and field for this high school, Jamaica College, when they won the national championship. So we were at our high school, Jamaica College. Usain was there, and he was like, we're talking about Shaq and stuff. Then he was like, yeah, doc, the mental is important, right? So just like Shaq, just like Usain, just like Shelly Ann, all four of those girls that won the 4x100, and then you see the Jamaicans smiling with you before they race, they're in neutral, and they're about to put it on you.
No kidding. So
Yeah.
that's a common thing.
Serotonin is
there.
about to be released. You're in flow state. So that's what Usain and I would have discussed. And he's like, Doc, you're right.
Okay. Who are the most impressive athletes that you personally have worked with or been around? I know there's a host, but who just was really impressive that just really stood out?
There's a bunch that really stand out, and because of confidentiality, I can't really say. Shaq is, and then this is his own words, most dominant player ever. That's him, and yep, him and Will Chamberlain up there in the dominant. Usain Bolt, we converse, we consult, we talk. He is phenomenal. All of the Jamaican athletes, track and field. There's Daniel Laver. He's a 5-time world champion, 2-time Olympic medalist. He was the fastest on American Ninja, and he actually fell and came back on one of the things. You can look it up on YouTube, Daniel Laver falling on American Ninja, and it's pretty cool. Mentally strong. And you have athletes that have like ADHD, right? And they're like, people tease them at school for ADHD. ADHD in sports, good, because you got a lot of energy.
That was me.
That's you?
Yeah,
I'm
that is
pretty
me.
sure if I don't know, they didn't have it when I was young, I'm pretty sure that I would have tested positive for ADHD too. Because, yeah, lots of energy. But it's good for sports.
How do you work with someone like that? Because especially in Australia, and I don't know so much what it's like in America or Jamaica, but in Australia, there seems to be this idea that ADHD is the excuse. It's the reason why people don't excel, or it's the reason why people can't focus. Whereas when I studied it, what I found was that people who tend to have these ADHD characteristics tend to have hyper focus in certain areas. I think that that's a weapon.
Yeah.
How do you deal with athletes that have those sort of characteristics, and how do you get them to focus and stay on track?
Okay, so that's a really good question, because what I do in my practice, say I'm with an athlete in Jamaica and I do a neuropsych evaluation. That neuropsych or a clinical evaluation will tell me that they have ADHD. And then the treatment or the mental strength development program that we're going to do is based on that. And like you said, there are many instances in which they're hyper-focused in one area and not so focused in the other. And you get them to understand it. So, okay, you're not that disciplined with the schoolwork, but you can't get to do the stuff you love, which is the track and field or the rugby or the cricket or the football, till we get this done. So I'm using the thing that they're not good at and not focused in. These are for young athletes. And then the parents become very happy because they start to do well academically. But it's, Stephen Peters would be calling it, in his book, The Chimp Paradox, you're giving the chimp a banana. You give the chimp a banana by saying, okay, you do this, then we get to do the thing you really like to do, you know?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like a neurological linking process.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, so with these athletes, what is the thing that you have found really sets them apart mentally and emotionally? I know I sort of keep asking
Going
around
back,
the
yeah.
same question because I just find it really, really fascinating. Like you said, they're disciplined, but what creates that discipline in them? You know, is it just something that they innately have, or is it something that they're always working on? Like, if an undisciplined person is watching this now and they think, you know, I'm off track, I'm not where I want to be, but there's that burning desire to be better inside of me. How do they work through that? How do they turn themselves into something great?
Okay. When you got teased in school about red hair, and that's a few kids picking on you. Kids picking on you now, it's 10,000 people telling you you suck and you did badly. So to go back to the question about how do you have to get that person to understand this is not reality, these 10,000 people out here just necessarily, right? I know it's a different reality because this is how you're growing up. But when you I'll give you an example. I have an athlete, NBA player, said, Doc, I don't like to go downstairs whenever I'm in a city or a town. I just like to come, play my game, go to the room. Because if I go downstairs, there's some relative trying to tell me that we should open a barber shop and a barbecue shop together. That don't make no sense. How can a barber shop and a barbecue, that's hair and barbecue, not gonna work, you know? And to go back to the question, you're like, how do they become disciplined, or why were they disciplined? The difference between, some of them are following some older players that know them. So a lot of older players in the different leagues have guided them. UD Haslam was here the other day with Shaq. These are warriors. So the kids that are coming up in the league and they align with the warrior's discipline will, start
It's almost like a mentor.
Yep, the mentoring works. And then now when you get a sports psychologist coming into and the thing is, this generation is believing in it more than your generation and my generation. My generation definitely wasn't believing in it, right? But when you look back at many, many great athletes, they've been doing sports psychology stuff themselves. Pele, greatest soccer player ever. Messi and Maradona are in the curve, but Pele is the one. He would go to games, sit at the game before the game, visualize. He would see the people in the stands before they got it, visualize the whole game. There's a plethora of stories of older greats doing what we're teaching these young players to do now. EMDR, that's eye movement desensitization response. That's what I do with the athletes, and they're doing it, seeing themselves do it. And then Greg Lee was on the team TV saying, I saw myself score that goal in Dr. Hamilton's office. So there's many examples of visualization, EMDR, neurolinguistic programming, NLP. That's just like meditation to either your voice or a voice that's calming and getting you to do. There's regions of your brain that when you tap into them properly, and that's the beauty with getting older. That's why I'm kind of liking it, because I'm learning. As much as I know now, I just finished my passing the International Olympic Committee's mental health elite diploma for psychiatry. If I didn't pass it, like 24 people were in our cohort, not everybody passed. If I didn't pass, wouldn't be bringing it up, no. But you're learning, you keep learning. I didn't think after I finished my doctorate that I'd still be doing this, but you're constantly learning, and with that knowledge, you're able to help the younger people.
Do you think that's important for everybody out there, like that everybody has to have that enthusiasm to want to learn and want to grow?
Continue to, absolutely, without question. You right now are learning just sitting here, right? You know, based on this conversation, that I can help you help some of your people in business. Because this is where I'm branching into doing more. I've done executive coaching, and because I've helped teams win. Australia. So when West Indies won the 2013-2016 T20 World Championship, I was a sports psychologist.
We might have to cut this out of the podcast. I might get a lot of threats from my fellow Australians.
No,
here.
we love Australia, man. West Indies love Australia, and Australia loves one of our favorite sons, Michael Holding. Mm-hmm. He's very much loved in Australia.
Oh, we love cricket. So I know the West Indies, especially when I was growing up in the 90s as well, the Australians and the West Indies, there was always...
Oh, the battle.
Yeah.
Both of us. Yeah.
I remember watching that summertime. It's super hot over there, very dry where I'm from, and just sitting there with the air conditioning running, watching the one days or the test matches. I loved it.
Your country, man. The fauna and the flora, but the animals. Whew, you got some serious animals in Australia.
Yeah, they make us tough over there for that reason.
I know. I see kids playing, catching a bat, catching an alligator, fighting with a kangaroo.
Yeah.
That guy's famous.
He is.
That one is very famous.
Do you know how many people have brought that up? I sound from Australia, and they're like, they start talking about kangaroos, and they're like, "Have you seen the guy that hit the kangaroo?" I was like, everyone knows it.
Yeah, that's famous. Was he saving somebody or saving a kid?
He had his dog.
The dog.
Yeah, and then he ran up and punched it.
Yes, and the kangaroo was like, "What?" Yeah, that's good.
It's very interesting. So what drives you now?
I see your lovely wife over here, Mike. I've been married 37 years, got 3 kids. I want to be one of the top Jamaican sports psychologists ever. I want it to be a big part of who we are, because we're really very good at sports. And I want to help more in the world of business. So yeah, working on 2 books, doing podcasts, helping a bunch of teams and individual athletes. And yeah, that's still driving me. What
makes a good marriage? Being together for that long.
Oh.
How do you... Not that I'm asking for myself, of course.
No. When... Oh, man, I wish some people were here right now to hear this. But when you have a good partner that has your back, you know, because we going to go through some troubles, all right? It's not every day it's going to be good. You're going to go through some rough stuff. And when your partner, when your lady can say, "It's all right, babe, we got this." First job I got out of college, I was a statistician for the Center for Disease Control. Then another person from the University of Miami came with their doctorate. I didn't have a doctorate at the time. I had a bachelor's. And they said, "Can you do your job and Jason's job?" Jason Scott Hamilton is me. And the person said, "Yeah." And they said, "All right, cool. So we're keeping you, Jason, deuces." That was like the first time I was out of a job, but I'm supporting wife and children. And my wife said, "Don't worry, babe. You know, door closed, door open." And it did. So when you have that, and then, yeah, your best friend, you can talk, you know. You can look at your wife. Just look at her at a party. You don't speak, and she know, all right, Mike's ready to go. You understand? Or she looks at vice versa. She look at you, and she's like, all right, she don't even have to do this. We out. You get what I'm saying?
I know that. Or you bought another car.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's you. But she has to understand, though, or let me say it so she hears. She has to understand this is coming from that's your child. Your child been playing with these Matchbox toys. I'm similar, but not to your level. I like Bavarian Motorworks, you know? But maybe one day I'll get up into the McLaren and that world.
Well, next time you're in Australia, I'll come pick you up from the airport.
Yes, definitely. As a matter of fact, I will come to Australia just to get the pickup. We'll work that out. We'll do a podcast in Australia.
Oh, I would love that. If you do, we'll put on an event and some seminars, and I'll look after you.
We could do that. Actually, we could do that. Do a seminar, do some executive coaching, and there's a mate I have from Australia, Christopher Neeson. He would be very upset if I didn't. So he's good Australian sports psychologist and does great work in the area of executive coaching.
Okay. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
There's probably a bunch of people that we probably come across together because I've worked with some of the guys from the Redbacks in South Australia or the South Australian cricket team. Shane McDermott, who's a friend of mine, I've done some work with him, and he left Australia, and I think he was the assistant coach of Bangladesh, and then now he's in Afghanistan for some weird reason working with their cricket team.
Yeah.
So
Chris was up there, all over the place as well. Chris and I did some good work with the United Nations, USAID, 7 high schools in Jamaica, Jamaica College, St. George's, Wolmer's, Tivoli Gardens. They're not all coming to me off the top of my head. However, top soccer player from Jamaica, Skill Cole. So we all went out. So Chris did some good work with us in Jamaica. Yeah. And we did some work up here for the United Nations in Miami. Yep.
now, if someone's watching this and they have, like, let's say a lot of negative thoughts, fear, stress in whatever area, whether it's business, whether it's sport, and they feel that pressure, what's the first thing that you tell them to do? Is it the visualization that you've mentioned? Is it breathing? How do they get themselves back out of that negative loop or the chaos or the fear or the worry or the stress? And, these days there is a lot of pressure on people. What would you say to somebody who's watching this who needs to break that pattern or at least move past it?
All right. One, I would say get in touch with a sports psychologist. If it's more of a clinical issue where the depression and the anxiety in people that want to commit suicide, that's not cool. Every morning they get up. That's the first thing it's saying, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. You know, it would be good if you were not here. All these problems you're having would not be happening. That's just thoughts. That's just conversation. I train people how to manage that particular part. But if there is a chemical imbalance and that thing is very strong, sometimes these people listen to that voice and they're like, you know what? Worse, they drink or they do drugs. And they're like, yeah, you're right. Let's just do this. There is no situation where doing that to yourself works. It's not. It's not beneficial. It's just not good, not right, not wrong. Not to say it's not powerful. So to answer that question, I would say if that is at that level, find a psychiatrist, find a clinical psychologist, see someone. Mental health is serious. Physical injuries with athletes and mental injuries with athletes are equally as important. So address the issue. But to bring it back down to just athletes and like they're in their head, there are ways that if you're seeing a really good sports psychologist, that they can help the athlete understand how to manage that. And then in turn, perform on the day they need to perform the way they need to perform. And that's the beauty of our field, right?
How do you assess that? Like, is it, because I guess there's a whole bunch of tools out there, I read a lot and I study a lot. There's a lot of like stuff around, do some breath work, focus on your breathing. It could be like using empowering affirmations. It could be, setting effective goals, visualization. How do you determine what tools to use as a, therapist, practitioner, psychologist? What's the process of sort of trying to understand what's going to work best?
All right. So this exam that I just finished, British Journal of Sports Medicine, we just came up with, IOC have come up with it for about 4 or 5 years. It's SMAT, Sports Mental Health Assessment Tool for Athletes. So there's ways to test the athlete to find out. But in sessions, you find out that the athlete is hyperventilating or having anxiety before the performance. That same thing you spoke about with breathing. breathing is really powerful. If we had to remember to breathe to live, all of us in this room would be dead. The parasympathetic nervous system takes care of breathing, so it's automatic. When you are actually concentrating on your breath, like you're doing a 6-2-7, all right, let me let you do it now. So you're going to inhale slow for 6, hold your breath for 2, blow out through your mouth for 7, and inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold 1, 2, blow out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right there, Mike. Your right hemisphere and left corpus callosum separates the left hemisphere and right hemisphere. When you are actually concentrating on your breathing, both sides are working together. That's as close as you can come to managing your mind properly. There are people in East Shaolin monks. From the moment they're awake, they know every breath they take. They can do push-ups on their fingers. Don't do that at home. Don't do that at home. It's not good for you. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you can control that mind completely, then you can be really strong. Look how strong you are. Okay? Let's point out Michael's guns there, ladies and gentlemen.
Gonna make me blush.
Show them where directions. Where do you want to go? Over there. Right.
I'll
So
just sit
see,
here
there
like
you
this,
go.
drink
There you
water.
go. See, you see that? So Michael, you've put in the work at the gym to get those guns. You follow me?
Yes.
Can you imagine you put in that work on your brain? This muscle here, we could use it a lot more and be a lot better at, strengthening it.
So you describe it as a muscle to strengthen as well.
Yes.
Amazing. I know you've got to wrap up. You've got a busy day. What's the thing that you're most proud of in your personal life and then also in your professional career as well? What's the thing that really brings back those powerful memories and that makes you just be grateful?
I've helped a lot of great athletes, but what I'm most proud of is I've been working with young people. My wife says I'm the young people whisperer. And it's kind of true. A Chinese Jamaican lady said to me in 1990, "Your gift is you see young people in their future." And I had no idea what she was talking about. I was working at the school that Jeff Bezos went to here in Miami, Palmetto High School and middle school. And many of those kids come up to me and my wife now in the supermarket, and they'll be like, "Dr. Hamilton, remember you were my counselor in middle school or high school?" That is one of the things I'm proudest of. And then when I was the director and the assistant dean in the College of Medicine, I used to give students, I'd give them a business card, and then I'd say, write DR, and then write your name. Give me the card back when you're a doctor. I started doing that in 2002. 2017, I got my 151st card.
Wow.
That's what I'm proud of. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's powerful. I mean, that gives me chills. What is it that drives that you see the youth better than how they are? Or is it something from your past where people of power or of influence didn't see you as being someone who was capable? Or is it just, what is it that drives that?
I don't know. Maybe. My parents were divorced when I was 8. And like you, I've read a lot of books, but I've listened to thousands of books. So I'm getting better at putting away really good books. And what I find is from the really great elders, they were great teachers. So as much as I do all these other things, I love teaching. And like I just got a student yesterday, a doctoral student who's doing her postdoc at Harvard. And she reached out to me because she saw where Shaq did the shout out for me. And so she reached out for me, and then when I'm talking to her, I'm like, "So where are you from?" And she said, I was born and raised in Jamaica. I'm like, what? You're born and raised in Jamaica? Them must have to help you, man. Must bound and compel have to help you. I will be helping you. So she wants me to help her. And I'm back in the game. That's what I love to do, Mike. Help doctoral student. That's at Harvard? Yeah.
That's amazing.
On top of the sports psychology stuff.
And now just to wrap up, the final thought, I guess you could say, or the final piece. If you had to give one piece of advice to the people who are listening here, what's your one piece of advice for life?
Okay. One piece of advice for life. Find out what it is you love to do. And if you're doing that to make a living, then you're not working. And then really study it. Helping people, kindness, joy in what you're doing, that's much cooler. You have times when you're going to have to stand up and fight. Matter of fact, I just spoke to a frat brother that I'm going to see this weekend. And 40 years ago, we were in a big fight. Big fight. And we cool as cucumbers now. So sometimes you're going to fight. That's part of life. But, yeah, he knocked me out. Big guy.
Okay.
He big. He a little shorter than Shaq, but he big. They call him Psycho. Oh, this will be on the video. Yeah, so Psycho knocked me out in a big fight. But we're good, you know? So to answer the question, find something that you love. You're obviously good at what you love right now, so it's not work. Don't stress yourself so much. If you need to see a psychologist, I know a good one. Right? You're a sports psychologist. I help you with all the drama you're creating on yourself, because that's your limbic cortical region. I'm going to send you a video when we finish.
Perfect.
It's 11 minutes long, and you'll get it. Your wife is going to like it a lot. Yeah, find out what you love. If you keep doing that, it's not work. Study it. Be good at it. Take care of people that are less fortunate than you. Be kind. Help young people. Bring joy into the world. Yeah, you'll be all right.
Excellent.
You will be good. All
Dr.
right?
Hamilton, thank you so much.
It's
Appreciate
a pleasure,
you.
Michael.
Thank you
very, very much.
Thank you.
Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.